Good night, everyone. Johnson. I go to school, ain't go to school all the time. My name is Irma J. Spiritual. I'm here to give you a little shout news on tonight. First, we're going to start with order at the border require access to Asylum. Ellis Miller is the attorney, and he is the director of America Immigration Council. Justice campaign. Now, Ellis had been representing immigrants for the last 4 years at the border. And he is disturbed that so many Americans don't understand their border challenges. Now he stated that the border has been shut to asylum seeking since March the 2020, due to a pandemic. He also stated that accused President Bennett from opening the border that he wanted to move past as American to provide safe harbor. So this is the attorney speaking. To working in immigrant shelter on both sides of the border. Detention center. Now he want us to understand why uh, people, immigrant is here. So he wants to understand why is they here, why is they constantly fleeing from their country. So they're fleeing everything. From political, racist, religion, prosecution, and economic, and hopeless. An organized crime group that step in when state fail. So these are all the type of things of why they are fleeing from their country. So receive asylum uh, complicated motivation and general fear had led them to our doorstep. So all these type of things would lead to the doorstep. Lately that's all I've been talking about this case. So first it was on the boat, they flying, so everything is going on with this case. What his the attorney had to step in. So many people had to step in to help them. You know, so he also talked about the Title 42 policy. You know, he stated that the policy has shut the border down. You know, and so I say the Title 42 policy is in place. To check individual who comes through the border. They have to show proper paperwork. To come through. Organized crime. Is DHS, they is not targeting, immigrants. They immigrants not the only one that come through the border. They have to check through for products. They have to check and see if anyone is smuggling drugs or anything else that come through the border. So Title 42 is in place to check all these things that come through the border. So if these proper paperwork and everything is not being checked, you know, they don't know who coming through with what. Because so many people be coming through and so much stuff will be going on and they be smudging all kind of stuff through the United States. So that's the purpose of the Title 42. Now it's also protect, for anything, that being smuggled through the United States. So for me, I don't have no problem if they apply for asylum, here. Protection is where they fear prosecution or home. Asylum had been granted. You know, so I'm all for you reestablishing access to asylum. It started with between the states, country, federal government. They step forward. Say flying immigrant. But it can be expensive. We don't want to play with no one lives, but try to support those that seeking protection. So you want them to wait in the United States for their court date. So federal government has already been helping, relocating over 24 billion, immigrants, enforcement and custom border protection. So the money is used to the project that's showing false immigrants are trying to they originally their lives, going through the desert, out of desperation. So when immigrants, arrive on American soil, billions is paying to private prison. To detain immigrants that had led to under widespread abuse and are subject to the government expensive legal action. So you want to keep them out of these prisons, instead invest in a legal service organization, nonprofits, and community that welcome immigrants. So we do have some states has been welcoming immigrants. When they've been dropped off, like Chicago. Last week, I talked about that. They welcome them. Found shelter. They fed them. So you have some states has been welcoming the immigrants. You know, um, there have been states, like I said, Chicago, been supporting. You have Washington D.C. So you have a couple of states that has been supporting and welcoming them in different states. So you're saying when officer violate, you also made a statement that officer violate immigrant legal rights or commit abuse, they must be held accountable for it. So you're saying I don't know, you're saying at the border they're being abused, or their legal rights, but yes, I do agree that if they're being abused, that someone should be accountable for it, but also, make sure all immigrants apply to all rules when they come to the border, you know. So immigrants is part. You said immigrant. You said stop treating them like that because they are part of the nation or history. Yes, they are. Immigrants are a part of a nation. They are history because that's this is all we've been talking about lately. You know, um, they will continue on. Being pushed factor. Political war. Because yes, immigrants is part of a nation. So we do understand that they flee from their country from prosecution and all kind of other stuff that's going on. You know, um. So on my behalf, I'm pleased that immigrants are applying for asylum now. Is form of protection that which allowed them to remain in the United States. For them, not to be removed or deported. So back to the country where he or she feared prosecution. So this form that they are filling out is for them to stay in the United States without being removed out of the United States because their country they fear prosecution and they fear for their life. So this would be a good form for them to fill out. For them to stay in the United States. The protection has been granted to someone who had left their country, as a political refuge. So this form, this will be good for them. So they are fleeing from prosecution and want to deport here in the United States. So yes, for um for shelter here in the United States. Now you stated Title 42 had been shut down. Title 42 policy, is in place to check for individuals that who comes through the border. They have to show proper paperwork, to come through. So I request that Tyler, you know, DHS, DSS, they have to protect, they're there, to protect, and manage what's come through the border. Coming to the border to the United States. They have, they don't only just have immigrants that come through here, people that come through there. They have to check for product. Also, They have to check for anything that coming through to the United States to make sure no one smuggling anything, anyone coming illegal. So that's what the Title 42 come in place at. You know, so they can't just let anyone come through without showing any kind of paperwork. So it's not a targeting immigrant. It's them just doing their job and making sure they have to check everyone that come through there. So I request the Title 42 policy, remain due to the protection at the border. They have to watch what coming through to the United States. So I also am all for reestablishing access to Lasama, to remain also. I want that to remain for them to fill a form out, for them not to be deported, for them to stay here in the United States. So immigrants flee from their country due to prosecution. They should remain in the United States, but they have to be legal. They have to go through the process of doing paperwork or whatever, because anything can happen, in the United States, and we don't know fully information or anything, so it's okay to fill out the form to be here in the United States, but they have to fill out the form. They also have to, do paperwork so they can be legal here in the United States. So flying immigrant can be expensive, so that's the only choice for right now besides the boat, the bus, or the train. That's the other option, we can come up with it. They don't only just have to fly. They do have the bus, the boat, and the train. So we can think about those choices right there if flying is too expensive. Now due to prosecution in their country, I request that they do wait here in the United States for their court date. Since we understand now why they're constantly fleeing from their country. So if they're fearing for their life and for prosecution, if we making them go back to where they're being prosecuted and being, pressed down, in their country, I request that they stay in the United States, stay here and wait on their court date. Because if we send them back to where they haven't all that prosecution at, they probably won't even make it to the court date. So we have to have consideration of why they're fleeing from the country. That's the main thing that we have to know, of why they're here. Why is they being dropped off in Washington D.C.? Why is they dropped off in Chicago? So these are the type of things that we have to know why they are fleeing in here in different countries, in different states. So federal government is already stepped forward, locating 24 billion immigrants. So that's a lot of immigrants that then help settle here in the United States. Now some of the money is going towards the private prison. Because some of them putting them in prison if they're not. That's why I'm telling them to be legal while you're here, so these type of things won't happen. So that you are trying to keep them out of prison. So their attorney is working very hard on their behalf. So you also stated that officers violating immigrant legal rights and committing abuse to be accountable for their action. So if they are abusing them, abusing them in any kind of way, yes, someone should be accountable for it. And at the same time, make sure they all, applies to all the rules when they come to the border. It's still not no excuse for the abuse. But make sure they come to the border and apply to all the rules. Make sure they have all the paperwork and everything that needs to be done. So yes, immigrants are a part of a nation. They're all part of a nation. I don't want them to be exit out in no kind of way or treat them no different from anyone else. If they feel like they cannot stay in their country. For you to stay down here in the United States, you have to be legal. So I mean, you have to go through paperwork, and and Lasama is what y'all is applying for. You know, you have to apply for it. You have to go through the procedure with paperwork. You have to be legal if you want to stay down here in the United States. So we talk about, I saw the picture. It's a long line that they're applying for this Lusama. It's a protection thing for to make sure they do not be moved or be deported anywhere. Once they come down here and they legal, did all their paperwork, they want to not constantly be moved or be deported once they settle here. So the form is pretty good to have, so they won't be bounced around or have to leave. But just make sure you're legal. Make sure all the paperwork is done where you won't have to be moved or be deported. You know, so we also talk about the Title 42 policy. It have to remain. You have to come through and go through the procedures. Because DHS not only dealing with people come through the border, also dealing with people coming through with products. To have to make sure no one is smuggling anything into United States. So all these type of things have to, you know, go through. Y'all filling out your form for Lasama, and that is good. I agree with everything that y'all is doing besides the Title 42 that have to remain. You know, we have to keep a count of everything that's coming through the border. They're including the immigrants, they're including the products, they're including anything that comes through the border. Have to go through paperwork. You have to go through the procedure. You know, so that's all the short news I have for y'all on tonight, and I'll see y'all on the next video.